the meeting of the Beaufort County Board of Education Finance Committee of October 14th, 2021, hybrid video conferencing meeting. And this meeting will be live streamed by the county channel. A request for public comments, participation will be accepted between 4 and 4:30 by sending an email with your name and phone number and topic to robin.cushenberry@BeaufortK-12sc.us. Okay, this is a call to order. We start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
A second?
Motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Robin, do we have any public comments?
Sir.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the September 9th, 2021 committee meeting?
I'll make a motion that we accept the committee.
Mr. Campbell made the motion.
A second?
Motion has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The first item on the agenda is sole source procurement. Ms. Crosby.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So we're bringing this evening our sole source and emergency procurement report for the second half of the fiscal year 2021. So this would be from January through 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2021. So typically I bring this report forward with our OE 6.2, which is Minority Women Business Enterprise Report. But I inadvertently left this one off in our last report of August 12th. So it doesn't have an OE this evening, but it is a requirement of the procurement code that we bring it forward at some point after the end of that time period. So there are two sections. The first is sole source. Sole source is procurement, allows the district to select a particular vendor to do business with that is the sole proprietor, the only source that is available for a product. So in this case, we have several areas. Harris Integration Solutions, for example, is our automated logic dealer, which handles our energy software, and it allows us to monitor the usage and adjust, turn on air conditioning units from a remote location and so on like that. So that's an example of a sole source vendor. And so anytime we offer, approve the use of a sole source, it has to be approved by the procurement office and myself and identified as the only source available for that. Another example would be the use of, on the second page under midway down the report is ThyssenKrupp, which is our elevator supplier. Yes, it's listed a couple of times there. And anytime we have repairs or inspections to our elevators, we have to go procure the services of the vendor that supplied the actual equipment, in this case an elevator, particularly when we're still under warranty for the equipment. So those would be a couple of examples of that. And then further down, we'll list emergency procurement. which would be procurement in the case of a damage of a facility that may be a health or any other health and safety type issue, an emergency. So a water main break repair, in this case, there was a retractable goal that was at risk of damaging or at life and safety issues. HVACs going out in a particular area, and fire extinguishing services are some of those. But oftentimes I'm contacted, particularly if there is a fire in a closet somewhere in a building and there's some damage, or a flood in an area, that would be an example of something that would be emergency procurement. We needed to procure the services to repair something or clean something up very quickly, and needed that emergency approval in order to move forward. So with that, I'll just open it up for any questions you may have.
Any questions?
No, sir.
I see no questions. Do we need to make a motion to recommend this report be forwarded for the full board and put into the consent agenda?
No, sir. In my opinion, it does not require any sort of acceptance or approval. It's just requirement of the procurement code for us to bring it forward as information. So that I believe that we've satisfied that requirement.
Tanya, or sorry, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Oh, certainly.
Ms. Crosby, does the procurement code, does it state that it's supposed to be brought to the full board, or does it just say the finance committee? What does it say in that regard? Because I don't recall, and I know I recall seeing some of these sole source vendors before, like the elevator and things. So I know that it's pretty standard, but I just don't know what the procurement code says. Is it supposed to go to the full board, or is committee sufficient?
Well, I think that with this moving forward, it would move forward into the full board, and not necessarily as a report, but under the committee reports, the document can be reported to the full board through the committee reports, and that would suffice to provide any information, the requirement to provide information to the full board. So that's typically what we've done in the past. We've brought the Minority Business Enterprise report and this report together at the same time. And so I think that would satisfy the requirement.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to this next item on the agenda.
I think there's a hand up, Mr. Chair.
Williams there.
Pardon me?
Williams, hands up.
Oh, Mr. Smith, his hands up. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I would definitely like to say that I would definitely, I think that report should come before the board. And I was, and if it didn't come before the board, I would definitely have been concerned. Thank you, Dr. Oneski, for bringing that, for bringing that question up, because yeah, that would definitely was a concern of mine. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to the next agenda item. Millage rate update. Ms. Crosby?
Yes. So for the millage rate update, we have provided a letter that our bond counsel has assisted us with preparing a document, just a letter to Mr. Jim Becker, the county auditor, in order to correspond with him about that certification of the millage rates were made at the specific rates that were adopted in ordinance by county council and certified by the board. So we cited the specific millage rates of the operations rate of 121.6 mils and debt service of 36.3 mils. And there is a section of the Code of Laws of South Carolina that it's section 12-43-285 that does require a certification of the millage. And so there has not been consistency on that certification, what that means each year. But certainly we have prepared a letter and sent to the county auditor to request them to confirm the millage rates and to their understanding and certify that they're accurate and correct. And so we have yet to receive that response, and we'll update the board as soon as we receive that back from the auditor's office.
Dr. Wisniewski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tanya, was the county council also CC'd on that, or the county administrator, just for their knowledge that you were seeking that as well?
They were not. I can certainly forward to them, but I don't typically send it to all of county council. But I can certainly copy it to anyone.
And the main reason why I ask is just because they are involved in the process, and I think given the history of things, it might benefit to let them know that the auditor has been sent that letter and that we're seeking that certification, just for all parties involved to be aware of it.
All right, thank you.
Pardon me?
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith, your hand is up.
He never put it down.
Mr. Smith, are you hearing us? Nothing heard.
Okay.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any comments or any questions?
No.
Ms. Crosby, I have a question. When will the tax bills go out?
I do not know. I do not have that information. It has been not a consistent month in the last few years, so I would venture to say in many years it was October, but it has been November, and then of course last year was in March. So I'm really not certain as to when those bills will go out.
So will we get some kind of notification before the final decision is made, what the millage will be before the bills go out, or do we find out what the millage will be after it's sent out?
We typically find out what the millage, well, last year we received a notification that the debt service millage wouldn't change to 36.3. Other than that, there was no indication. There's never been any indication in my history with the district of a notice from the auditor's office of what those rates would be. So there is not a typical notification of this to the school district of the rates that will go on the tax bill.
That makes me kind of nervous. Does somebody need to call Mr. Becker, and is he the one that will make that final decision before it goes to the treasurer?
Well, the county auditor prepares the information that is on the bill, and then it is forwarded over to the treasurer's office, who I believe then is responsible for distributing that to taxpayers, either by mail or by online on the tax system. So I can certainly send an email to one or both of those individuals and request information on the date that the tax bills will be distributed.
I assume that the county council, the county has sent out, is waiting for this as well. Is that a valid assumption?
Yes, it's all the same tax bills. Their information is on the same bills.
Have you reached out to your counterpart at the county to see if she has any information or anything about this?
Not on that particular topic, but I can certainly reach out to him on this one.
Please do. Dr. Wisniewski, your hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just kind of going to build on what you said. I think it would be beneficial to send an email or even a letter to the treasurer as well as the auditor, and perhaps CC the county council on it on this one as well, just to kind of maybe go over what happened last year and how that impacted us and resulted in the TAN having to be issued, just so that we can put that back on the table and tell them we're just seeking clarity because we want to plan for the future appropriately. Oops.
Thank you. Certainly agree with that.
We should have, there should not be a reason why.
I muted it. I muted it.
Okay, go ahead. Mr.
Okay.
Campbell?
Okay. There shouldn't be no delay this year in the tax law,
Shouldn't be.
you know, so. Because there's nothing gonna stop it from that, what happened last year.
Well, what happened last year, they had the same thing go on, and then the county filed suit.
Yeah.
And I kind of like to have a little advance warning if that's going to happen again. Because I'm kind of concerned.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Dr. Graz, you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Geyer. So I certainly agree with what everyone has said about, sort of keeping us in the loop, and so we're aware of what's going on. However, I feel very uncomfortable that we're telling, as individuals or the committee or whatever, is telling Tanya what to do. We really should not be doing that. It should be Dr. Rodriguez that should be deciding, what letter is going to go out to whom and who's going to be copied on it. That would be, I definitely think the comments previously about the millage rate update. So the request was to have the county council copied on it. I also think the board should be copied on it, but I think ultimately that should be a discussion that Tanya has with Dr. Rodriguez. She's heard what we've each said, and I absolutely concur with the thoughts here. But I just think we should not be directing Tanya what to do. It should be Dr. Rodriguez deciding that. Does anybody disagree with that?
No, Madam Chair, I think you're correct. That is most appropriate with our policy. So I would definitely concur with that.
Okay, thank you.
I concur, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned about timing. It's the 14th of October. And please, Ms. Crosby, would you communicate with Dr. Rodriguez and at our next board meeting next week, if you please have that ask him if he would like to share that with us in his report or in your report to the full board. Okay.
Yes, sir. I will certainly speak with Dr. Rodriguez about it as soon as possible.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Crosby, and thank you, Dr. Claus.
You're welcome.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is fiscal autonomy discussion. I think you all have received a response from the county about our request for fiscal authority. And I had no idea of what Act 538 of 1969 said, and I was hoping that maybe Ms. Cartledge could inform us about that and tell us what that is and what her suggestions would be to respond to the county council. Ms. Cartledge, are you on?
Sir, yes, sir. Good afternoon, board members. The letter from Mr. Passament has in the last sentence that he would be happy to discuss the possibilities, alternative methods of meeting the objectives the board wants. So I did want to point that out to the board. I have not been able to look at Act 538 of 1969 yet. I'm actually out of state at the moment, but I'll be happy to do that. I can update everybody, through email communication if you want me to do that. But as far as this letter, he disagrees with the analysis of Mr. Halligan and is still open, it appears, to discuss alternative methods. So I'm just wondering what the board would like to do as far as moving forward.
Well, this committee can only suggest to the full board, but
Right, suggest to the full board.
I would suggest that you contact Mr. Halligan if he hasn't seen this letter.
I actually, yes, sir, Mr. Geyer. As soon as I received it, I forwarded it, and Mr. Halligan is not available. He wasn't available to be present today. I believe he may be traveling right now because he still hasn't responded to me. So I'll need to make arrangements for him to come and speak to the board if that's what the board would like me to do.
Dr. Wisniewski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the main comment that I have in regard to this letter is the tense that it's in, or the language that he uses, because it says, I do not believe that county council can relinquish the role given to it by the state legislature. So that's coming from, it seems, just the chair. And I don't know if this has been brought before the full county council for a discussion at this point. I don't know if this was, the chairman and an attorney that consulted prior to writing this letter. So I'm a little confused basically on from what authority this is coming from. Is it coming from the full authority of the county council or the chairman solely? So I don't know. That's just based on my first and second reading of it. But I think that's something that we should maybe seek some clarity on.
I agree. Mr. Sturbinger.
Thank you, Dick. I think the road to go down here is to meet with Joe to discuss what his possibilities are, because obviously he feels that Dick Halligan's interpretation is in error. And the only way that gets resolved is going to court. And I don't think we want to drag it out if we can avoid it, of going to court on that interpretation. So I think the next step is, for us being, the group we normally send to meet with them and see what other alternatives they're thinking about. And we can also get Dr. Wisniewski's question answered that way. I suspect there's an attorney behind this, but I don't know. There's no shalls in there, so I don't know. But I think that's our next step. Meet with them, see what they have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Campbell.
I don't believe that going to court is going to change anything, because we went to court when the county wouldn't ask us to school and won, and they still will not change the attitude. So I don't trust that. And I don't think the chairman of the county council understand this act. That was back in 1969, and a lot of change since then. A lot of other districts have went from the county council to have full or partial autonomy. So, I think somebody's probably talking to him, because I don't think the majority of the council want us to get that fiscal autonomy. That's just my feeling.
Okay, Dr. Cross.
Yes, thank you, Dick. So several things. First of all, when we sent our letter and draft ordinance, we sent it to all of the council members. So all of the council members have received it. I concurred, Dr. Wisniewski. To me, it looks like this is Mr. Passaman's interpretation, likely with legal advice as part of it. But it doesn't say that the council does not think, can relinquish the role. It says, I believe. I agree with exactly what you just said. I think since we already hired Vic Halligan, when Robin received this letter earlier this week, she and I discussed who it should be sent to, and we sent it to the BOE and to Mr. Halligan and to Wendy and to Dr. Rodriguez, and I believe maybe also Tanya. So, Mr. Halligan has it. We hired him to help us with this. So I think he needs to weigh in. Is this accurate, what Mr. Passaman says? No, he thinks it's not accurate. And I'm happy to have another, meeting with the members that we met in the past, with the smaller meeting of the board and the county council. Obviously, it's just purely informational. We can't make any decisions, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it would be more helpful to start with Mr. Halligan's analysis and get his advice where we should go from here. That's my opinion.
Thank you. And is it possible, obviously Wendy says she's not been able to get in touch with him, but perhaps between now and our next board meeting next week, he could be scheduled to speak to us, and I assume that would be an executive session. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yes, he would. Would you like him to be available next Tuesday for executive session if possible? And if he's not available, would you all like to have an executive session before the work session begins on a Friday as an alternative?
Dr. Glas, what do you think?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. I think first he just needs to weigh in. I'm happy to try to reach him. I have his contact numbers. I will try to reach him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll go from there, because exactly, I mean, he's working on this. It's something we're discussing, getting legal advice in executive session when he's available for that executive session. I mean, I think it'd be fine if he would just came via Zoom. I don't think he needs to be in person at this point. So I'll work on it. Is that good with everyone?
Right now. So.
Okay. Thumbs up. Thank you.
Could we do it, and we have time to put it in executive session for the Tuesday meeting?
Yes, if I get in touch with him tomorrow or Monday morning, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll work on it tomorrow.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
You're welcome.
I don't see any other hands. Okay, that was our last agenda item. Next agenda item, second to last, our last agenda item is future topics. Anybody have a future topic? Ms. Crosby does.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Procurement code discussion.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
We have some changes from the state level. That's all I'll reflect on that until next time.
Okay. Any other suggestions?
Before we adjourn, can I just say something, Tanya? I can hear you, but you sound like you're muffled, and I don't know why that is. Is that true with everybody in Tanya?
You sound a little different.
Okay, I moved a little closer to the microphone. Is that any better?
I'm a little closer.
Or I can use my headset in the future. So
okay. I mean, it's you. I can hear you, but it's not ideal. I'll say that. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Tanya, the ESSER updates, those are coming to the full board now from here on out, is that correct?
that's correct. We'll see one on Tuesday night.
Okay, and are they quarterly or monthly?
They're monthly.
Monthly. Okay,
And this
thank
one
you.
will be through October 1st.
Okay.
So we
Thank you.
included it, which ended up being a Friday. So we included that one date as well.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mhm.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Campbell moves to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.